111. Zero. Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me? Congressman, I am Mesa. I am here for Colorado Immigration Coalition Rights. In 2010, I was awarded a poster contest at the national level. And I went to Washington D.C. where I had the other for them to come hear me singing in front of the Capitol. It was a very wonderful time. I wanted to give kids back to them. It was really awesome. And now I'm here fighting for my Latino brothers and sisters to represent. They want a better future. They want a better life. And I'm here to ask you what is your stance on the
immigration reform right now is something that is in the process. You're aware that the Gang of Eight out of the Senate put forward a bill. And as we've discussed with the Latino Immigration Rights group when we were in Alamosa, I think a couple of you were there. When I met with them in Pueblo, and a couple of you were there to be able to do that. I cited what I heard out of the Latino Chamber of Commerce when I visited with them. You know, we've got to be able to secure our borders. This is our country. We understand. You know, I had a great example of a lady that just became an American citizen from Argentina, married an American, had a son, American citizen. He was born here, and she went through the process and became an American. And was so proud to be able to join. To say I'm an American. There's nothing better on the face of the earth to be able to do that. But what we had expressed and what we talked about when I think a number of us were literal in Alamosa is we're in concurrence that we need to be able to have secure borders in this country. We have real threats that are coming in right now, be it from terrorism. We're seeing the cartels that are coming across. There are signs, unfortunately, along part of our southern border say not safe for Americans. That's not a good thing for any of us. So we need to be able to address that, and we need to make sure that we respect people that are going through that process legally. Do we need to have some kind of a viable guest worker program here? I'm talking to people in the construction industry, I'm talking to people in the hospitality industry, I'm talking to people in the farm and ranch community, and we do. We've got a broken system right now. H2A and H2B that simply is, it's not driven by good economics. We put an artificial number into place. We may need 100 people and we're only going to let 50 people come into work. But then we've created a scenario right now. I grew up when we had, and this is something that I think we've discussed, the Brasaro program, where we'd have folks that wanted a job. To be able to come up, to be able to harvest the products and be able to go to them. And then at the end of the season, they went home. They had some of that freedom to be able to do that. That's a good idea. One of the things that I suggested and that we had discussed, and I think a number of us have talked about this in the room before, is an idea that I put before Congressman Goodlatte, who is chairing the House version of what's going to be moving forward, and that has not been solidified yet, is the red card. A good, verifiable guest worker program. It's going to be good for the person using that. It is a good idea. You know, because with this card, literally, when somebody is going to be able to come into the country and be able to work, you can cross the border, you know, get in 100 yards, slap your forehead and say, I forgot my tennis shoes, run right back, get your tennis shoes, and come right back into the country. That is worker friendly, to be able to do that. We're going to be able to create some of that security so the people that are coming into this country aren't abused with that, because one simple invitation of this program, unlike E-Verify, by the way, if E-Verify comes for a vote, I will vote for it, but it's got a lot of weaknesses in it. There may be 100,000 Scott Tiptons in the country, as frightening as that might be. You know, and we just aren't sure which one it is under E-Verify. Under this red card program, it is verifiable. Who the person is, we're going to be making sure that the taxes are collected. We've got an actual verifiable thing that an employer then is going to be able to use. And if they are audited and they are not abiding by the law, we punish the heck out. And I think that more than anything, being able to create a win-win for jobs that we need to be able to have fulfilled in this country. We'll do more to be able to address a lot of the immigration concerns that we have right now than probably anything else. And so I'm advocating for that with Congressman Goodlatte. You know, I think the House version is going to separate some, obviously, from the Senate version. That as good-hearted as the '86 law was, you know, we were going to, at that time, Reagan gave, you know, amnesty and just said, and then we're going to fix the border. We need to have a process. What I'm actually pushing for, I view this a little more in a business sort of a standpoint. If we're going to start a business, we're going to make the widgets. We go out and we buy the property. We get the plans for the building. And we lay the foundations. And we build the building. And we're lining up people we're going to work. There's a process for us to be able to go through. And those are some of the triggers, I think, that are going to be important so that we don't have to do this. And this is something I think we talked about over in Alamosa. I had two attorneys that came in and visited with me in Pueblo. And they said, well, we just need to give carte blanche amnesty across the board. And I said, what happens 20 years from now? We do it again. And, you know, and that creates a real challenge because, you know, when I talked to a good friend of mine, Jose Padilla down in Montrose, and then he said, I want to be able to have that security and the respect of being an American. He said, I'm so proud of my Mexican heritage, but he said, I'm equally and more so proud to be an American. And so let's try and create some of those, and that's some of where we're looking at it, and we'll see what some of the bills are that are going to be moving forward. Thanks. Thanks for coming to visit with us. It was a real pleasure. I think, was it your mom that was there with us as well?
122. Oh, I'll pass this one. 089. Nice 951.
This is really my ticket.
I'm sure you don't want to pass this.
Mr. Tipton, I'm real familiar with the hydro bill, and I assume that's the one where it reduces our need to go through FERC for under 1 megawatt.
Actually, the NEPA analysis.
The NEPA analysis. I've been through that too. I'm real familiar with two sites here. They're not small sites. One's a 165 and one's a 480 kWh site. What we ran into, we did make it through FERC. And it was wonderful with the help of the Governor's Energy Office. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that program. We fell under that and got through FERC, believe it or not, and NEPA on one of them, and you know, had to sign a lot of stuff with the state and that kind of stuff. Some of the problems that just bring you to light that we've seen and I've seen with this process is one big one is the payback by our rural power didn't want the power. Our rural power association didn't want the power, and of course the bigger power association only offers 3.5 cents a kWh. That project is not going to even break even, let alone be a profit for our shareholders in this small, fairly medium-sized company here. The other part of it I've seen, I'm real familiar with solar, and now you can up the city of Grand Junction and go now. You can put a solar farm in, or another company from another state, which is happening right now in Grand Junction, a 5-acre site within a mile up here, can put a solar farm in, and then you put the power in the grid, and somebody can purchase that power at a cut rate, of course, and then that company that puts it in gets money too. It's just the same as you do on a residential home. And I know what that number is, and that's up around 13.5 cents. So that's part of it. And I'm not all for government stepping in and saying, private sell, you have to do this. So that's not a good thing. One thing you can do with solar that you can't do with hydro is just what I said. You can't do that with hydro. Put it in the grid, and that particular company that puts it in buy it back. And I was wondering if you're familiar with that, and that was going to change. Because we had the opportunity to possibly run a wire to a pretty big hospital here, and I wasn't able to do that. So I was wondering if you're familiar with that, and if that's going to change at all. So it seems like there's more opportunities with solar, and maybe even wind if there isn't hydro.
You know, one of the biggest challenges really we have with hydro, and it gets to the very point of it being a renewable. Who in here thinks that you would consider hydroelectricity as a renewable?
It is not.
No. It comes every year.
It is not.
It comes every year. And part of the challenge that we have is the federal government refuses to recognize it as a renewable, and so it doesn't get the same treatment in terms of being able to sell that back into the grid. I think we ultimately really have to ask the fundamental question, and we saw this just now come through the state legislature of Colorado. It's going to greatly impact, by the way, our REAs, our rural electric associations, the requirement for 20% renewable. 20% of the energy has to be created by renewable. Why not hydro? Why not? Because if the idea is to be able to lessen the carbon footprint, to lessen CO2 emissions, why would we not allow that? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make any sense. Not to me, it doesn't make any sense. So let's, if the goal is just to be solar or wind, to be able to do that, the one thing we need to remember when we're looking at carbon footprint is somebody's mining that. Somebody is manufacturing that. There's a real footprint there that is not accounted for in terms of some of the construction and the mining end of that as well. If we can get the technology and we can make that cost efficient, I've got no problem with developing technologies. In fact, I think it's great. We do it very well in this country when we've got the proper motivation, and that's profit, to be able to pursue that. But why in the world would we not go ahead and allow hydroelectric to be considered as a renewable? It just baffles me. But I think it's putting an agenda ahead of what they say the goal is. Let's insert some common sense and make this qualify as a renewable. And I think that's going to be in the best interest, particularly if we're talking about, if Garrett and I do, about senior citizens. We're seeing electric bills go up via regulatory costs. The estimates coming out for our REAs, we need to have a couple people in the state legislature who seem to think they can pass a bill that says we're going to cap the cost to 2%, even though it's going to be going up higher. There's something in business called recouping cost. Somebody will pay. A legislative stroke of the pen does not eliminate the ability or the need to be able to repay that particular portion of it. So if we want to be able to create energy that is low cost and affordable, this is part of the solution that we can actually perceive. And that's something that we're certainly going to be looking at. We've been pushing with and talking to the EPA and others on. Let's go ahead and label this as renewable.
Just one other reminder too, is for companies like ours, if we want to use our own power, we're only allowed to produce 20% more. And one of our largest domestic water suppliers around here, and that pretty much locked that project. And they were in with for 5 years in that project and still are. So anyway, that might be something to think about, is being able to produce power, buy it back off the grid, and actually produce more than 20% that you use. And that's going to lock a lot of private companies from doing that.
If we can get some information, sound like you're pretty well schooled on some of this. We do have Kristen's in our office here in Grand Junction. We have Deanna that's in the back here as well. And if you haven't met him, we have Ian is in the back. It's going from Steamboat on over. So we'd like to be able to sit down and visit with you. And if you've got some great ideas, a lot of them come from right here. So I appreciate you being here.
Unfortunately, we are out of time this evening, but I would like to stress again to you all that if you have any questions, concerns, comments, just want somebody to talk to for 10 minutes, come by our office. You think I'm kidding? We've got a couple folks who just call us once a week and just chat about their children, and we listen. It's part of our jobs. So please come by our office. We're in the Alpine Bank building on the 7th floor. You don't have to go through metal detectors to get to us. Just knock on the door and we'll let you right in. There's a stack of my business cards up here as well as on the back table. Please call me or email me. And then also, if you have any issues dealing with VA benefits claims, the congressman recently signed a letter with Senator Udall to hopefully get a VA benefits representative here in Grand Junction, which would be a godsend for our community. But if you have any issues with VA, with IRS, with any government agency, Deanna is a police worker, and she's developed quite a knack for getting things moved along with a little bit of congressional muscle. So her cards are also on the back table. Please feel free to contact us. We have an open door policy, and we'd be more than happy to sit down with each and every one of you at our office. So thank you so much for coming this evening, and have a safe drive home. Thank you.
let's go.
Sorry, excuse me. Just forgot what. Tina?
Good, how are you? How are you? Come on. Oh yeah, well, the Republicans do it right. Around here, they're not.
There, little one. How you doing? How are you? Good. How are you doing? Good.
I think you've got 3 good reasons.
In the morning. I don't know how we're gonna get there.
I think it's cool.
It's funny. It is funny.
Did you see Channel 5 News Memorial Day evening? I never watched it. I went to see John Justice for about 3 weeks. Oh, really? My wife, she heard it and she said, you're not going to believe this. So she Googled it up on her iPad. She's like, well, I want my check now. So I sent Ray Scott a text. I'm a congressman. He said, you got demoted. I said, I got bigger pay, bigger benefits, and I don't have to look all the irritated people when I'm home. Yeah, exactly. You only have to come once every 10 o'clock news. They must have taken me off the telephone and say Benjamin Representative Ray Scott spoke. I wasn't even talking about it. Yes, long. I'm going to tell him. I gave her a little kind of lip down. I said, no, I got demoted right away. Did you enjoy the limelight? It's okay, it's good. Thank you for being here.
Sorry. Sorry.
She's going to tell him my story.
Hey, Scott, how are you doing? Good, how are you?
See ya.
Good. You know, there's ample ground to impeach Obama. Okay, I could go over a bunch. I mean, I can send you the article from Bruce Fine, who's the scholar who drafted the articles of impeachment against Clinton and Judge Napolitano, who both say there's plenty to impeach him. Saying that he could kill Americans without trial, like he did with Anwar al-Awlaki and his son, saying that he can detain them without a trial. You mentioned Benghazi, Fast and Furious. There's ample ground for articles of impeachment against him. And you have the legal duty and responsibility and ability. I don't have it, but you have it. And as our representative, I'm hoping that you will take that as top priority. And your constituents would get behind you.
You know, we've had obviously some folks who brought that up. I think it's really important, as I know you'll agree right now. We let some of these facts really move forward. Particularly, let's talk about the IRS, targeted groups being hit, and the connectivity that flows with that is going to be very important. And so, you know, some patience in terms of seeing where those facts lead, I think is going to be critical.
Well, that's your job, is to come up with those
That's exactly
details
what
and then
we're doing.
put them into legislation, articles of impeachment. That's what he's asking. Why have you not offered articles of impeachment on the clearly impeachable offenses he has committed thus far?
Saying he can kill Americans without a trial, violating our Fourth Amendment of due process. I mean, that's blatant. It's not allowable.
And this is where, you know, through some of the oversight that we're having, as you know, there's process. Officer may not like the process, may not like the political realities that are there, but there is a process to be able to go through. And if you get that far enough ahead of the curve, where it becomes dismissive, this group, you and others, you know, they fully embrace that.
Right.
But this is part of the process that I think if we let this go through and we see where this leads, you know, if there are appropriate time and place, you know, then we'll definitely see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, we have the grounds, and I want you to use our seat. It's our seat to champion that cause and say, and focus focus attention that by his own white paper saying that we're going to, we have, Napolitano talks about their own white paper saying, well, we can basically assassinate who we want without due process, without informing the Senate and the House committees.